Genesis. Behind the Story. Episode 10. Jacob's wealth begins to grow. Based on Genesis 30:25-43 and Genesis 31:1-3. Welcome back to Stories by Anna. What if I told you that the man who arrived with almost nothing would soon become richer than the man who hired him? And what if I told you that jealousy was about to explode all over again? After years of serving Laban, Jacob had built a large family. Rachel had finally given birth to Joseph. Leah, Rachel, Bilhah, and Zilpah had all borne children. Now Jacob began thinking about home. It had been many years since he fled from Esau, many years since he had seen his parents, many years since he had left Canaan. So Jacob approached Laban. "Let me return to my own homeland." But Laban didn't want Jacob to leave. Why? Because God had been blessing Laban through Jacob. Laban had become prosperous during Jacob's years of service. The flocks had increased, the wealth had grown, the business was thriving. Laban knew something important. Jacob wasn't ordinary. God's favor was upon him. So Laban made an offer. "Name your wages." But Jacob already had a plan. He proposed a unique arrangement. Jacob would take the speckled, spotted, and dark-colored animals from the flocks as his payment. Laban quickly agreed. After all, it seemed like a small portion compared to the larger flock. At least that's what Laban thought. But Jacob worked carefully and diligently. Over time, the stronger animals produced offspring that belonged to Jacob's portion. Little by little, Jacob's flocks began growing. Then they kept growing and growing. The Bible tells us that Jacob became exceedingly prosperous. He acquired large flocks, servants, camels, donkeys. The man who had arrived with almost nothing was becoming wealthy, very wealthy. But success created a new problem: jealousy. One day, Jacob overheard Laban's sons talking. They complained that Jacob had gained wealth at their father's expense. They believed Jacob was becoming rich because of Laban. The atmosphere began to change. Even Jacob noticed it. The Bible tells us that Laban's attitude toward Jacob was no longer what it had been before. The relationship was becoming strained. Suspicion was growing. Tension was building. Then God spoke to Jacob. The Lord said, "Return to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will be with you." What a promise. Years earlier, God had promised Jacob at Bethel that he would bring him home again. Now that promise was about to be fulfilled, but leaving wasn't going to be easy because Laban wasn't ready to let Jacob go, and Jacob was about to make a secret escape that would ignite one of the biggest family confrontations in Genesis. We'll discover what happened in episode 11. Jacob escapes from Laban. If you enjoyed this story, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to Stories by Anna. And here's a question for you. Have you ever seen jealousy arise when someone else's success began to grow? Let me know in the comments below. God bless, and I'll see you in the next story.